Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out 11 American habits I lost after moving to the UK.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're new here, my name's Kalyn. I'm a dual UK
Kalyn.
American citizen.
UCLA.
Today, I'm wearing my UCLA sweatshirt.
Yeah.
In honor of the topic of this video, 11 American habits I lost when I moved to the UK. Some of these are for the better, so buckle up. Let's get started.
I feel like this might break my heart. I feel like she's gonna say goodbye to some American traditions that I hold dear.
Okay. And some of these are very, very small things, and some of them are big things.
Okay.
Number 1. I almost never say the word garbage can anymore. I say a lot of American words still.
Oh.
I don't say rubbish, but I do say bin, and
Okay.
I don't typically say the word garbage, and I don't typically say the word garbage can.
You garbage.
I don't know why this one in particular, I've switched to like the British phrasing or the British words. It is something that is said a lot, like in day-to-day life, like taking out the bins or put it in the bin or bin it or whatever.
Take out the bin?
It's something that you hear a lot, so I think it gets ingrained a bit more. And also the word garbage can just seems like an effort to say compared to bin, so I almost never say it.
Garbage
Should I start
can.
saying it again?
Yeah.
Should I only refer to it as a garbage can or garbage? Comment below.
I like the word garbage. You garbage. We do use the word bin when referring to the recycling bin, but we usually say recycling bin. This is a minor one. I'm fine with her letting go of saying garbage. Although, it's really fun to call someone garbage. You garbage. Farewell to saying garbage bin. Farewell.
Okay, number 2, I cannot deal with the heat anymore. I grew up in Florida, you guys. Like, I grew up in a hot place.
Me too.
And when you live in a hot place for a long time, you get used to the heat and dealing with it. It's not like you necessarily have to love it, but your body can just take it.
Yeah.
Now that I've lived in the UK for 10 years, I equally cannot deal with the heat to the same extent that a like born and bred British person cannot deal with the heat. The temperature gets like remotely hot here and I'm done. I'm like, it's too hot. I'm sweating. It is a different kind of heat in Florida versus in the UK.
It's humid.
And also the fact that UK buildings are not made for the heat makes a difference as well. So I would argue that sometimes it can feel hotter here than it would in somewhere like Florida, even without air conditioning. Like, Florida homes are mostly tile, and the homes are meant to like bleed the heat out, not keep it in.
Yeah.
But I can't deal with the heat anymore, so I've become British in that sense. I have slept with an ice pack in my bed a night or two, not gonna lie.
Oh. Why do our bodies do that? Florida's really humid. I also grew up in Florida, and it's humid. And I didn't really notice it until I moved away and then came back. As soon as you step off the plane in Tampa, it's like your lungs fill up with this warm, wet air, and it's like, oh, yeah, I remember this. It's strange. Why do our bodies do that? Is it like a blood thing? A normal initial physiological response is the narrowing of blood vessels near skin surface. This preserves core body heat by reducing peripheral blood flow. As a consequence, the skin cools and less heat is lost from... Okay, so that's going from hot to cold. Mean index of tibia femur length. What? Allen's rule is a biological rule that says the limbs of endotherms are shorter in cold climates and longer in hot climates. Limb length affects the body's surface area. I don't think our limbs are changing length. Like, that's a long-term evolutionary thing. Ambient air temperature affects how much energy investment the human body must take. The temperature that requires the least amount of energy investment is toward... The human body has 2 methods of thermogenesis, which produces heat to raise the core body temperature. When humans are exposed to certain climates for extended periods of time, physiological changes occur to help the individual adapt to hot or cold climate. Here we go. Okay. Cold. The Inuit have more blood flowing into their extremities and at hotter temperatures than people living in warmer climates. A 1960 study on the Alakalooth Indians shows that they have a resting metabolic rate 150 to 200% higher than the white controls used. The Sami do not have an increase in metabolic rate when sleeping, unlike non-acclimated people. Aboriginal Australians undergo a similar process where the body cools, but the metabolic rate does not increase. The human body. Heat. Humans and their evolutionary predecessors in Central Africa have been living in similar tropical climates for millions of years, which means that they have similar thermoregulatory systems. A study done on the Bantus of South Africa showed that Bantus have a lower sweat rate than that of acclimated and non-acclimated white people. A similar study done on Aboriginal Australians produced similar results, with Indigenous Australians having much lower sweat rate than Caucasians. So I guess people in Britain have lower sweat rates, and people in Florida have higher sweat rates, and people in Britain probably have more blood flowing into their extremities, and people in Florida have less blood flowing into their extremities. Okay. So her body's changed. Kalyn, your body's changing. You're growing. You're probably very confused. You have a lot of questions. Call your mom.
Number 3, I don't smile or say hello to strangers as much. This is a very American habit. We are, I mean, maybe not in like the most major of cities like New York, but in most of the countries, you pass somebody on the street and, you know, walking the dog or like walking around the neighborhood, or I don't know the exact context, but I just feel like Americans are always smiling at people and saying hello to strangers. Now,
I love that.
This is specifically talking about the southeast of England, because it's different in other parts of the country, but I live in the southeast of England. So I don't do this as much anymore because it doesn't really seem to be the culture here, and then I just look like the weird one who is smiling and saying hello to random people. So now I don't know what to do. Like, now it's awkward because sometimes I'm like, did they expect me to smile and say hello to them and now they think I'm being rude? Or, like, are we both just feeling awkward, or am I doing the right thing? So I would say my American habit of just, like, acknowledging other people's existence has kind of fallen by the wayside in the UK.
Well, farewell to acknowledging other people's existence. I wonder if this is not a British American thing. I wonder if this is a big city, small town difference. If you're in the urban areas, you don't greet everybody on the street. You would just be constantly saying hello. But if you're in a residential area, like she's saying, walking the dog, people in LA do greet each other. I think it's a city-sized thing, a population.
Number 4, I no longer expect free refills. I know that it's not a thing. It doesn't happen in the UK unless you're somewhere like Nando's. But at a traditional restaurant,
Nando's has free refills.
You don't have free refills in the same way that you do in the US, except for something like tap water. And so it's not something that I ever expect. And so when I go to the US, I am then reverse surprised, like reverse culture shocked into remembering that refills are free. In the US, I might have like refills of something, but in the UK, I don't even want it because I know that it's like it will cost more money and I don't expect it.
Farewell to free refill. Expecting free refills. I'm fine with you letting that go. I'm fine with that. Okay, bye.
Number 5. I don't really care about having ice in my water. This is a very American thing that you see all the YouTubers talk about, like, oh, like they don't put ice in their water as much in the UK, or I had to ask for it, or whatever. Like, Americans love ice in their water.
Yes, in
I
every
must have
drink.
been like this before, but again, it is not as common here, but now I don't even want it. I'm like, no, I want more of whatever, like, the drink is. I don't necessarily need ice, and I feel like people offer me ice like in home sometimes specifically because I'm American, like they think I will expect that, and I actually don't necessarily need ice in my drinks, and that feels like a very British or European thing to me.
Farewell to wanting ice. I love ice, y'all. I think that's probably part of why we get free refills, because we fill the whole cup up with ice and then put the actual beverage in there, so you're really only getting like a little bit of the actual drink. So you gotta keep refilling it, you know? I love ice. Drinking hot coffee right now. I wish there was ice in it, honestly. It would be more refreshing.
Number 6, I do not tip like an American. I don't feel obligated to. I don't want to. I know a lot of American visitors who come here are like, I can't not tip.
Yeah,
American tipping culture is so different. Here in the UK, you don't have to tip. Sometimes the service charge is added and then like I'll pay it. But like you don't have to tip in a lot of things that you do in America. And so I have not kept my American tipping culture. I would gladly save myself the money. Half the time, by the way, you go to a restaurant, particularly like a chain restaurant, and they will press no on the card reader where it says, do you want to tip, before handing it to you. So yeah, I don't tip like an American anymore. I've definitely lost that habit moving to the UK, and when I go back to America, again, big culture shock when you realize that now you do need to tip for things that you don't in the UK, or you need to tip a much larger amount than you would in the UK. But as I said, I save myself the money and have lost my American tipping culture.
Farewell to tipping. But when you come back, you better tip. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate that our economy needs tipping. You know? It would be a lot more convenient if we didn't have to tip, and if tax was included, it would be a lot simpler. Did you know TIP stands for to ensure promptness? So really, you should tip before you buy a thing or before your meal. Actually, you know what? My stepdad does that. My stepdad... If we go out to a nice dinner, my stepdad will give the server a $100 bill before the meal starts, like before they even take our order. I think it's smart. It sets a good vibe with the server, you know? I appreciate that about him. Way to go, Bill. Bill, what's up? I hope you're doing well. I love you.
Number 7, an American habit that I've gotten out of is worrying about going to the doctor because of monetary reasons, or more specifically, not even just the doctor, like going to the hospital. And this is a more common one. This is in a lot of videos, but it's very true. When I used to live in America, it would be like, are you dying? Like, do you actually need to go? Do you actually think that you've got like 6 months to live? Because if not, it's not going to be worth the expense of going to the doctor or the hospital. The hospital you get huge bills for. Here in the UK, I just am like, oh, I have this symptom that I think is kind of weird. Probably don't think I'm gonna die in the next 6 months. I'll just make an appointment. No thoughts about money. And I really, really enjoy that kind of American way of thinking about money and health has disappeared.
You know, just a few days ago, I had a medical issue, and I had that exact thought. If I go to the emergency room or urgent care, I looked up how much it would cost me, and it would have been $2,500, so I didn't go. Fortunately, I ended up being able to take care of it at home, and it was not a big deal, but it was really uncomfortable. I was up all night. I feel like maybe there's an age. What age should I be where I start having medical issues where I should just move to the UK so that my medical bills are covered? Do people do that? I feel like that would be a good idea. Well, Kalyn, congratulations on letting this one go. Farewell to paying for health care. Or farewell to avoiding health care because you're going to have to pay for it. Congratulations. I envy you. Let's move on to the next one so I can stop thinking about this.
Next, I don't keep my eggs in the refrigerator. So you don't have to keep British eggs in the refrigerator, but you do have to keep American eggs in the refrigerator. This is due to a lot of differences that I'm not even going to go over in this video. I'll do it in another video.
There's a thing on the outside, isn't there?
But I have gotten out of the habit of feeling like my eggs need to be in the fridge, because when I first moved here from America, I definitely felt like eggs needed to go in the fridge because that's just where I always stored them.
Yeah.
Now, I store my eggs on the counter, actually, and I don't put them in the fridge.
Oh, that would be so strange.
Because a lot of times when you're baking, it asks for like room temperature. You shouldn't necessarily have cold eggs when you're baking.
Yeah.
But you don't have to refrigerate British eggs. It's
butter
completely
too.
Safe not to.
Gotta leave it out for a while before you use it.
The American habit of rushing those eggs straight into the fridge, gone.
Farewell to refrigerating your eggs. I've heard that the reason for that is because in America we bleach the eggs to crap, so it removes some kind of protective coating on the shell, which lets bacteria in. Because eggshells are porous, I think. I think liquid can go through them. American ones, anyway. That would take some getting used to, though. Like, consciously, I know they wouldn't need to be refrigerated, but I just feel in my heart that they would. You know what I mean? Congrats, Kalyn.
Okay, next up, I eat a lot more things past their sell-by date or use-by date in the UK, and I'll explain why I think this is like a British versus American thing. I feel like Americans are more wary overall of like eating something by the date, and if it's
I never
past
do.
the date, then they're like, oh,
I
it's
never
gone,
eat it
it's
past.
bad.
Yeah.
I feel like in the UK, people are a little bit more like, oh, we'll just like smell it and then hope that it's fine. I mean, obviously there are some things that you're not going to take a risk with, but I feel like I've stopped looking at the
that
dates as
shot
much
of a refrigerator.
on food products and kind of just like judge for myself whether I think it's still good. And I think this kind of plays into like the British culture of not being wasteful as well, where an American, like I might have in the past, looked at something that said it went off on like the Monday, but if it was the Tuesday, I'm like, well, I can't eat that. But it was being wasteful because it was perfectly fine. So now I'm a little bit more loosey-goosey with food sell-by dates
Interesting.
or use-by dates.
That's an interesting one. I've not heard that. I think I don't like to eat stuff past the expiration date or best by date just because I feel like it may not be gross or rotten or moldy, but it's not as fresh. So I'd rather just replace it with more fresh stuff, you know? And hearing myself say that, it sounds really wasteful. Maybe I need to be more conscious about that.
Okay, the next American habit that I have lost is not ordering dessert when I go out to eat for dinner. Follow me on this, because I know that's going to sound confusing. So I would say, based on my experience, based on my generalizations, it's a more British habit when going out to eat to order multiple courses, specifically dessert. I feel like if we're going out for dessert in the UK, not all the time, not everybody, but it's more common to consider it an experience, which means that a lot of people would order dessert afterwards.
Yeah, I rarely order dessert.
We go out to eat a lot more. It's less of an experience for us, and also we kind of like, let's get through this.
Yeah.
We don't sit around after we finish for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's as common for Americans to order dessert after their entree or their main meal if they're going out to dinner. I can't really explain why I feel this.
The portions are bigger, so you're
on
just
it.
full.
I'm just telling
right?
you, Americans love dessert. I'm not arguing that we don't eat dessert.
Yeah.
But it might be that like you would finish with your main meal at one restaurant and then you'd like go out for ice cream on the way home. It wouldn't necessarily like be a part of that particular sit down experience. Leave a comment below if you have American friends and family, if you are American, if you are British.
I am. I'm not.
What are your experiences on people ordering dessert with their meals or after their meals when they're going out to eat? Do you? Is it common? Do you go somewhere else? Do you have dessert at home?
Yeah, I've not heard that British people order more dessert. But, I mean, from my personal experience, I usually don't order dessert just for health reasons, and I'm usually full because the main course fills me up. I don't have room for dessert. But yeah, we might walk, leave that restaurant, walk a little bit, or go somewhere else to get dessert from a dessert-specific place. That's more common. I'm trying to think of the last time I had a dessert in a restaurant. This kind of makes sense, though, like the British Bake Off fascination. I know that's a huge TV show. Even in the States, it's big. So I definitely see a confection appreciation in the British culturation. I'm trying to put as much shuns in there as I could, but I didn't know. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Okay, next one.
Okay, number 11. I've gotten out of the American habit of using basically instant everything. I make a lot more from scratch here in the UK.
That's good. That's healthy.
That's just the culture in general that I've kind of adapted to. There's less like instant options. But in America, definitely things are all about like the instant mashed potatoes. Whereas here I would make mashed potatoes with actual potatoes. So probably my health is much better for losing this habit. I do miss a little bit of the convenience culture of like instant foods and not necessarily the time involved making everything from scratch. But like I said, overall we're probably net positive, and the food tastes better and is actually typically cheaper making things from scratch. Like a good example is soups. So I feel like I would make a soup from scratch here because it's actually not that hard, even though I'm not a good cook. In America, I would never have made a soup from scratch. I would have just bought a can of soup. I'm not saying people don't buy cans of soup here. Obviously, they do. But I just feel like the American culture is like, if you're making your own soup, you're basically Gordon Ramsay. Whereas here, you're just like
I make chili all the time.
Making dinner.
That's a good thing to let go of, Kalyn. I'm proud of you. I make chili all the time. That's my main dish, chicken chili. That's sad. That's kind of sad. But it's healthy. Tomatoes, onions, chicken. What else is in there? Beans. That's about it. I don't think I've ever even had instant mashed potatoes. Have I? I don't think I have. Maybe I have. Maybe I was fed instant mashed potatoes and I didn't know it.
Like I said, this is all mostly net positive. So I am making another video which are going to be about the American habits I did not lose when I moved to the UK. So stay around for that one coming out next.
Watch that one.
Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
This is a great video. I like her take on stuff. Y'all be sure to go to Girl Gone London and like and subscribe. And if you made it this far in the video, give me a like and subscribe now. Hell yeah. Well, thank y'all for watching this with me. I'd like to thank my patrons. And I'll see y'all next time. Later.